Hello everyone, it's Steve with Aptera Owners Club. I'm sure by now most of you guys have seen the launch webinar. I wasn't able to watch it live because I was at work. I just finished watching it and went through the Discord channel and saw everyone's conversation about it. And I have some mixed feelings after the launch video. I mean, mostly positive, but there was one thing that I think all of you guys noticed, which was surprising and um, not in a great way. But let's get over that. Most of it was great, and most of it was stuff we were basically expecting. There were a few there's a lot of good details that we got and a few good surprises and then one kind of not so good surprise. All right, so let's go over the presentation of their specs here. Um, this is their launch edition presentation, and here is the main specs. Range is 400 miles as we expected. Drag coefficient is 0.13. That is what it's always been. The body is going to be this body in carbon, not that honeycomb sandwich composite structure that we originally started with about 2 years ago. They are going to go with the all-wheel drive for the launch edition. My guess is that that was the most popular configuration. I believe what they're doing is they looked at all their configurations and figured out what their most popular configuration with and decided to go with that. So the most popular color was Luna. That's what they said during the webinar. So Luna is going to be the color of the launch edition. And then it's going to be all-wheel drive. They've changed the specs on the 0 to 60 time to 4 seconds. This is up from 3.5 seconds. I think their updated simulations and testing have shown that it's probably going to be closer to 4 seconds, so that's what they're doing. Top speed is 101 miles per hour. That's very specific. It's not 100 miles per hour, it's 101 miles per hour. I'm not sure exactly why that number is. Like I'm guessing that is what the max output of the Alafe in-wheel motors paired with this battery configuration gives you. I don't think it's like limited by software or anything. That is the actual maximum horsepower that it's able to put out. I mean, maximum speed it's able to put out. So seating 2 occupants, obviously. Airbag 2 occupant, but if you watch the whole video, you know that it is front side bags. There's 2 airbags total in the vehicle. It appears that there's not going to be side impact airbags. That was also said to me at the fully charged event at Gamma. So it looks like that is the final configuration. There is no side impact airbags, which is going to be somewhat disappointing, but that is not anything new that we didn't know before. We were hoping that maybe they would include side airbags, but I don't think that that's happening. Then here is something about the interior. So climate control, 60 to 90 degrees. That's a great range. I don't know why you'd ever want a car hotter than 90 degrees or colder than 60 degrees. It seems like a very generous range. There is going to be window defrost. So these things right here are side vents. So there's the main vent around the screen, and then these side vents, and there's a vent underneath the windshield to defrost the windshield. 2 cup holders, obviously. Armrests, there's 3, one shared in the middle, and then there is Bluetooth, yes, infotainment system, yes, and then all launch editions are coming with the enhanced audio package. Now that's something that a lot of people were interested in. I'm not much of an audiophile myself, so I didn't put that on my configuration. Um, and But I guess a lot of people wanted it, and they're including it in the launch package. And I don't mind it. I wouldn't pay extra for it, but since it's included, that's fine. More about the interior. The color scheme that's going to be in the launch is the Codex interior color scheme. I think it looks great. It's a great color scheme, and I don't mind that at all. Center display is 12.8 inches. There's going to be 2 USB-C. So they're going with USB-C, not USB-A. I think that makes a lot of sense. It delivers more power, and most of the new devices are USB-C anyway. There's 2 sun visors. And cargo storage. This is a big thing that's changed because they've always said it's 25 cubic feet, but now it's 32.5 cubic feet. That's way more storage space than we were initially told. So that is a good surprise. And then this little area in the back, they're calling it a bunk, cargo bunk. It's a 0.5 cubic feet, so plenty big. You could put a decent sized backpack in there. and it is just a cargo area. It has no special function other than additional space. And I think it's really nice to have some stuff in here, maybe like a tire sealant kit, a tire inflator, maybe an extra jacket or blankets or something, um, or you know, hazard lights, I don't know, whatever. And then you could leave the rest of the cargo space kind of uncluttered. There's cargo tie downs, and we'll look at the videos together at the end, but the cargo tie downs are recessed tie downs, which are awesome. Having like tie downs that stick up makes the floor bumpy, and so when you try to slide things in, it'll catch, but they're recessed, so that's great. And then there's these little accessory hooks here. You can hook things on there, and probably you can use those accessory hooks to like divide the cargo area from the passenger area, which is a nice feature. So I think that it's designed really thoughtfully and nice. And what I really like is the naked carbon fiber in the trunk. And from watching the video, there's the floor pan and that area is also naked carbon fiber, which I think looks great. And then we're getting very specific information about the dimensions of the vehicle. So the ground clearance here is 5.14 inches. That is way more than the 3 inches that was measured by me on the Gamma at fully charged. So it looks like they've raised this, and even with raising it, the uh, drag coefficient is still 0.13. I wonder if the drag coefficient was better than 0.13 when this was lower, because remember they reshaped the body to be more aerodynamic. But then when they raised this up, it went back to 0.13. But 0.13 is still great, so I'm not too worried about that. Vehicle length is 14.8 feet. Vehicle width is 7.3 feet, so that's pretty wide. That's 87 inches in width. Height is 4.6 feet. Wheelbase is 9.2 feet. And here is the official tire size. Okay, and there's 2 parking sensors, ultrasonic parking sensors. I don't know where they are. You know, they were seated in these wheel covers. I believe that's still where they are, but now we have official confirmation of the tire size. It's a very standard tire size. Then charging, 40 miles per day. We know I had a video earlier that showed depending on where you live, you could kind of calculate exactly how much solar charge you could get. The onboard charger is 6.6 kilowatts, which is a pretty standard level 2 charging speed. The charge port will be the Tesla charger or the North American Charging Standard as quoted by Tesla themselves. And the charging speed maximum is 57 miles per hour. Now, this leads to the one major disappointment of this presentation, which is the lack of DC fast charging. That was a question that was asked during the question and answer period, and they said that it was because they felt like most people would not need it. And that is probably true. That's probably true that most people will not need it, and most people won't use it. And even the people that do need it probably aren't going to be using it too much. Number one, DC fast charging is pretty hard on your batteries, and you probably don't want to do that too often, but it is very useful when you need it. And the reason that a lot of us wanted the Aptera is to go on long road trips and to go on like far away camping trips. And the lack of a DC fast charger kind of really limits road trips. You're going to be able to go maybe 350 miles before you have to charge. And charging at 56.7 miles per hour, you know, maybe you could stop for lunch for an hour and get you another 50 miles out of it. But that's not a road trip vehicle. That's kind of a like a local regional day trip vehicle, or you know, you really can't do the thing that many of us wanted to do with this car without a DC fast charger. It's so efficient that it makes for a great road trip vehicle, and then the DC fast charging kind of kills it. And when they talked about it, they said that it added a lot of complexity to the vehicle to add DC fast charging. And I believe them that it is harder. Um, but that's one of the things I think they should have prioritized. Um, then they also said that Chris McCann came on Discord and said that they would offer it as an upgrade, a hardware upgrade later to the launch edition, which sounds great. That would be great if that's possible. But one of the things that Steve Fambro said during the presentation, is that one of the reasons they didn't add it is because it had to change the coolant system um, of the vehicle, and the thermal loads on DC fast charging were difficult. And I can see why that is. Remember, one of the areas we thought of was, what if it's DC fast charging on a very hot day over black asphalt? That puts a lot of load on the thermal system, and maybe they thought that they couldn't do that. Um, and so I don't know if the thermal system isn't designed for DC fast charging. How can they upgrade it as a hardware upgrade later? Maybe you have to change out the entire coolant system for that. That doesn't make a lot of sense. I'm kind of curious about how that is. Now, me, for instance, I did want to use it as a road trip vehicle. Um, and it is disappointing that there is no DC fast charging. But honestly, I would use that maybe a couple of times a year at most. And the vast majority of the time, I'm not going to need DC fast charging. So it's not a it's not a deal breaker, but it is disappointing. They are obviously going to go put DC fast charging later on, but I do want the launch edition. I want the vehicle as fast as possible. And for me, I really, really was looking forward to the DC fast charging. And I kind of thought that in a modern EV, DC fast charging was a given. Like you should have DC fast charging. That turns out that it is not the case. Other interesting things that we found out were um, that they're going to have a investor webinar next Friday. That'll be very interesting because most of the things that we want to know about now is how are they going to get the financing to get into production? That is the number 1 through 10 question that is most important about this. We know the vehicle is amazing. It's designed well. I think there's still going to be a lot of interest in it. It's just can they make it to production, and that's all funding dependent. What we did find out is they have already bought some tooling. Like they've bought the steel to make the molds for the body and carbon molds, and it's sitting in Italy and it's waiting to be carved and tooled out after they make the final specifications and do the last bit of testing of dotting the I's and crossing the T's. So that they've done that already. Um, and they asked about price, and they said that prices have increased for everything and EVs have gone up in price. Now clearly they're not thinking about the massive price drops that Tesla had recently put down on their vehicles, and so I think pricing is going to be a challenge. Now Aptera is a totally different type of vehicle than any other vehicle. So there's not direct competition for it. But now, if you just wanted it as a practical mode of transportation, this is their projected price, and there's a little asterisk saying price subject to change. If you go to Aptera, you can change. There's a button that says change to launch edition, which I did on my reservation, and their projected price is $33,200, and that's subject to change. They haven't gotten the money and they haven't nailed down like the pricing for the contracts from other suppliers, so they're not really sure what the price is going to be, but I think they still think it's going to be around this price range. And the launch edition is essentially what I wanted. I mean, I didn't want all-wheel drive necessarily. That's not necessary for me. I was going to get full solar. I was going to get the 400-mile range. I was actually going to get the Luna and the Codex interior. I didn't really want the enhanced audio, but I don't mind it. That's fine. So it's not a big change for me. But now that it doesn't have DC fast charging, it's kind of competing with EVs like the Bolt and the Bolt EV. Those things are going to be cheaper than the Aptera in fact, they're cheaper than the Aptera even without the tax credit. And so that the Bolt is not a very good road trip vehicle because it's DC. It does have DC fast charging, but their DC fast charging isn't very fast, and so it doesn't make for a great vehicle. Because of the efficiency of the Aptera, even a 50 kilowatt DC fast charging made it very fast in terms of miles added per unit time, and so it made it a good road trip vehicle. And it's not as compelling anymore now. Efficiency is still important. Not having to plug in still important and still useful for a lot of people. And the performance of this is going to be way better than a Bolt. And it just looks a lot better for people that appreciate its form. and I think it's going to be a higher quality vehicle than the Bolt. So there's a lot of things going for it. So there's reasons that people would still be willing to pay more for this. I mean, I certainly am, but I think with the tax credit, it is hurting them on price, and the lack of DC fast charging honestly hurts a lot, I think. And then they did update their configurator, and now this is no longer the alpha pictures. We do have the launch edition pictures, and they are going to be updating the website to include more launch edition pictures. Now, so if you look here, you can see that right here is the exposed carbon fiber. So they've got floor mats and stuff, but parts that like the side of the console here is just naked carbon fiber, which I think looks amazing. Aesthetically, the car looks awesome, and all the other specs on it are what we expected and are great, especially the increase in cargo room. The bunk is awesome. The way that this design is great. I just really wish that there was DC fast charging. Okay, so let's go look at the interior a little bit more and the video, and we'll wrap it up. All right. Well, the first thing about the webinar was that you could tell that they were doing it live and they were reading off a teleprompter, and it was a little awkward. My suggestion to the Aptera team would be to pre-record these and do several takes and just take the best take in the future, and then have it be live for the Q&A part. I think that would have gone a little smoother. In this animation that showed at the beginning, you can see the battery going in, and that's the first time we've seen the battery going in. The battery is definitely a flat pack like that, and it matches the 6 modules of the battery pack. They are definitely going with Eve battery, and they said that the battery pack is 1 kilowatt hour bigger because of better volumetric density during their talk. And then Jason Hill gave an overview of the launch edition interior. The interior looks amazing. I love the look of the naked forged carbon fiber in there. I think it makes delivery faster, and the little bubbles at on the hatch and everything look great. And the recessed cargo points are awesome too. And another look through the back of it looks great. Here you can see the exposed carbon fiber in front of the center console area. So there's a lot of exposed carbon fiber in the vehicle, which I think is an awesome look. And that area where the smartphone sits in the very front looks like an enclosed storage, which acts functionally like a glove box. Here's the large subwoofer, and again, a great look at the exposed forged carbon fiber and the recessed cargo attachment points, and the bunk is open there. And then here is the launch video. That's a short video that they have on their channel now. I've slowed it down because they go through things pretty fast just to be snappy for people these days that have short attention spans. So they go over the highlights. You can see that the interconnects are not silvered now and not the copper interconnects. So 400-mile range as expected. The parking sensors they're not on the wheel fairings, they're in the front, and you see 5.24 inches. Now in their configuration they say it's 5.14, so I don't know what's it's 0.1 inches off, and the width you can see was 87 inches. That's a little wider than I measured it. And see, here it is, aluminum belly pan. So they're still going with the skin cooling. It is aluminum. It's not composite like I was thinking. So they are doing the skin cooling, it looks like. So that makes a lot of sense. So the belly pan is aluminum for thermal transportation, thermal transfer. And then again, no DC fast charging, which is a disappointment for a lot of people. Now here's a good surprise. 32 cubic feet of cargo space. That is a ginormous amount of cargo space. You can fit so much stuff in there. And they give you the exact dimensions, so 5 foot 10 inches. And so if you push the seats forward and lean them forward, you're going to get easily 7 feet of space in back. So you could anyone can sleep back there. There's that cargo bunk. You could put a good size school backpack in there. Cargo tie downs are recessed again, and there's lights there in the cargo area, subwoofer, bunk lid, and there's the little accessory hooks, and I think you can like hook a bunch of things on there, bags and such. The Codex interior I think looks great. I thought it was copper, but it's actually rose gold is the correct color for that. Um, and I guess now that Jason Hill said it does look like rose gold. And then here's the enclosed storage, which acts as like a glove compartment because there is no glove compartment on this side because that's an airbag. You see the side vent there, the main vent here, and there's vents under the windshield for defrosting. There's an airbag. Again, unfortunately, no side airbags. And the hazard switch is up top, not in the console or the dash, as in most vehicles. Rear vision display, that's what replaces the center rear camera, and around 740 watts. We calculate at 714 watts based on the Maxion 3 itself, so about 700, so that's about right. 40 miles of solar range. In certain areas, you could likely get more than 40 miles, actually. So that's the launch edition. Lots of great features. Love the cargo space and the look and the design of the cargo area, especially. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks as always to our supporting members, and have a great day, everyone.